So what got you into wrestling?
You know, growing up as like a little kid, I wasn't like really exposed to wrestling a lot. Like I think I knew who like Hulk Hogan was and all that stuff, but like really I don't have a lot of memories of wrestling. One being I didn't have cable television back when I was growing up. One thing I do remember though, it's like we still had like, you know, syndication television, basic television. The first memory I have of wrestling, who I didn't know at the time who it was Joey Styles on ECW, because it would be like syndicated. It would be in Chicago, like channel 26U. So like half the time it would be just Joey Styles like talking, like, you know, with a microphone. It's like he's like my earliest memory of wrestling, believe it or not, Joey Styles. But then once you know, I'd say like around like middle school, like we finally got cable television. So it took me like 2 months to come across. Obviously there was two TV shows. There was Monday Night Raw and WCW Nitro. So I remember distinctly. Now, like I said, didn't know what I was watching at the time, but like then like seeing old clips, you know, as I've done my research since then, it was going back and forth. I remember I turned to WCW, and there was a segment in the ring. It was Ultimate Warrior was in the middle of the ring, and Hulk Hogan was like walking up to the middle of the ring. And this wasn't, you know, the glorified, you know, early 1990 feud they had. It was their, you know, watered down, you know, Halloween Havoc, you know, disaster feud that they had. So it was Ultimate Warrior's in the ring, and all of a sudden this cloud of smoke just comes out of nowhere, and Hogan gets in the ring, and he disappears, and he's like, where'd he go? And I'm like, okay, screw this, and I'm like, I'm almost turned off by wrestling at this point. But then I change the channel, and I see Monday Night Raw. And who do I see? I see Stone Cold Steve Austin. I see The Undertaker. They're battling each other, and they're building up to a buried alive match. Like the loser has to be buried alive. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta see this. And then, you know, a few weeks later, I ordered my first pay-per-view. I had just been watching wrestling for like maybe 2-3 weeks. I'm ordering a pay-per-view already. And it was Rock Bottom of '98 in December. And I watched that show, and I was hooked ever since. You know, I was like 13 years old. I can remember exactly like being in the basement at my parents' house and just falling in love with it.
From a fan standpoint, what's it like to go to a live wrestling event?
To go to a live event, like you said, like I watched on TV for a while, and then I remember when my dad took me to my first WWF event, and I remember the exact date. It was October 23rd, 1999. It was the main event was Stone Cold and Triple H, and just seeing them all in person, it was just like, oh my God! It was just like, you know, like, because TV doesn't do justice for like, you know, what you see on television. It's just being at a live event. It's just like you have like the whole crowd around. It's just like so electrifying. Like it's just like I can't explain, put into words.
Being a wrestling fan, did you ever think in a million years that you would become kind of like an iconic wrestling fan amongst the fans?
You know, it's funny you say like I don't consider myself any like famous or anything. I'll take infamous. That's one word I'll take. Like, all right, I'm infamous, but I'm just a regular guy that, you know, came to all these shows. Like, you know, we were talking to Rick earlier. It's funny, like all people ask me the same question. I was always asking, like, how the hell does he like get to all these shows? And he was doing it way before I even started like traveling. So I'm like watching TV, and I'm always seeing Sign Guy pop up. I'm like, how the hell does he do it? So like I was just like everyone else out there with me. And then, you know, like I remember from the day I got my driver's license, like I was just like, you know, it didn't like I always went to every show in Chicago, but then I was just like, ooh, you know, I got my car now. They're gonna be in Milwaukee next week. Let's go to Milwaukee. You know, 2 weeks from now, they're doing a pay-per-view in Indianapolis. Let's go down to Indianapolis. And then it just like took off from there, and it was just, the rest was history from there.
People that are non-wrestling fans tend to kind of look down on professional wrestling fans. How does that make you feel?
You know, wrestling fans, it's like, I feel like there's a lot of different personalities with wrestling fans. Like, you know, people like, I feel like the typical wrestling fan is like, you know, like a country, like, you know, person, you know, has no teeth or whatever. It's so much more than that, you know. I think the WWE fan base is the most passionate fan base that there is. Like, you know, you have like fans of like basketball, NBA, baseball, you know, like that. You know, I'm sure their fan base is great as well, but like, to me, the WWE fan base, I don't think, you know, I don't think baseball or basketball are bringing in fans from like Australia to come in for a week, you know, spend like, you know, 10 grand on a trip, you know, hotel, just to come see a basketball or a baseball. Like that's what wrestling does. That's what WrestleMania does. So to me, wrestling, like, there's a big misconception with wrestling fans. Like, wrestling fans, to me, are the greatest fans in the world, in my opinion.
Do you feel you're going to be a lifelong wrestling fan?
Oh, no doubt. Like, no matter what happens in the future, whether I, continue to like try to pursue this or whatever direction I'm always gonna be a fan until the day I die. That's what it's gonna be.
Do you feel the fans are as big a part of the show as the wrestlers are?
Well, I mean, I feel like obviously you have to have the wrestlers first. They put on a performance, but to put on a performance, you need the fan. Like, without the fans, like, then there is no wrestling show. Are we bigger than the wrestlers? To me, no. But like, we're a big role. We play a big role in of making this happen. Because like, I think I'll take a quote from Eric Bischoff. Like, when he was about to purchase WCW before it was purchased by Vince McMahon, you can have like the entire video library, you can have everything, but without like TV or without the fans, WCW is like worth $5. So like, that's exactly what WWE would be without the fans. Like, you can have all like the stage, everything, presentation of it. Without the fans, it's worth $5. Not to say that it isn't worth $5. It's worth a lot more than that to me. But like, WWE, like, without the fans, it would be nothing.
How do you think the fans have changed from the Attitude Era to the current reality?
Well, from the Attitude Era, very vulgar at first, that'd be what it is. Very outgoing, very uncensored. Now, it's very more toned down. Everyone comes down like, oh, the PG era, like, why is everything changing? I mean, it's not so much WWE changing, it's more that the world is changing. The whole world is like, it's become very image conscious. So to roll with that, that's what WWE has done. And, like Rick said earlier, it's actually kind of widened the fan base, believe it or not. Some people can't like understand, like, it's, if you're gonna hard target like one, like ECW, for example, back in the day, they only hard targeted one demographic of the wrestling fans. But to appease a mass audience, to appease a worldwide base, you have to branch out. You have to, like, put variety out there. And especially if you want to bring families involved, like if kids want to watch it, you have to like kind of like tone it down a bit, and so everyone can watch it. And to be honest, for me, like, and obviously there's stuff I don't like. I'm not going to be as vocal about it, complain about it. I'm just going to continue to love it and watch it. But people complain about like it's too toned down, too PG. I still feel it's a great product. I still feel they're bringing out great entertainment. It's still like, because it's not just about the wrestling for me. It's about the entertainment. It's about the presentation of it. It's like the entrances. Like one big thing about me is like the entrances of wrestling. Like the music, coming out with the entrance video. That's like almost my favorite part right there. So like, the sort of big difference between like the fans now and then, it's more conservative, but like more toned down, more classy. Let's put it that way.
Describe how you became Brock Lesnar.
Well, it's so funny. Like, going back to like, when I met John, when I met Frank, they already kind of had like their, gimmicks established, and like, then around like 2011, I started like, going to shows a lot, just like with them, always sitting there with them, but like never like really had like an identity of myself. I started like doing a couple different things, trying to like, whatever, but nothing like really stuck out. But then obviously, one night, April 2nd, 2012, that all changed when Lesnar came out. It was the night after WrestleMania 28. Rock and Cena just had like one of the best, classic matches in WrestleMania history. John Cena was in the middle of the ring, and he called out Rock to, thank him. And who comes out? Brock Lesnar. Complete shock. There had been rumblings that he was going to be there, but no one knew for sure. So he comes out, and I was, honestly, I was no different from any other fan in that arena. Everyone just like went crazy. And I'm just like, I love Lesnar back in the day, so I was just doing his like little taunt with him, thrusted back, looked over, I'm like, oh hey, there's a camera on me, and then yeah, obviously the rest is history. And yeah, that's just took off from there.
That was a genuine reaction.
And that's the best part. Like, everyone thinks like they want to say like they call us like plants, plantness in the crowd. The best part about that, it was done so well. It looked like it was like, staged, but like that was all natural. That was all organic, and that's the best way for things to happen, is naturally and organically.
Have you ever got to meet Brock Lesnar?
Ironically, no. Like, I've met like almost like the entire roster for like the Attitude Era to now, but like ironically, I've never actually had a one-on-one personal encounter with Brock Lesnar. Obviously, I see him at the shows. I've gotten up close and personal with him at the wrestling shows, but never actually have met him in person.
Had Brock Lesnar not returned to WWE that day, do you think you'd be kind of the super fan that's in the spotlight that you are today?
I feel like it could have gotten to something because, you know, I was going to shows already. It actually shocks me, like, people that, like, actually know, like, who I am from before. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, I used to see you, like, you used to bring this, like, one sign. I used to bring this sign. It was, it said ringside addiction. Like, that's, like, one of the things I was, like, trying to put over. Because it's, like, it really is an addiction. Like, sitting at ringside is just, like, such an addiction to go. So some people actually remember it, like, when I used to bring that sign to shows, and that blows my mind. So, like, I feel like it could have gotten to a degree where, like, would have been, like, a little bit, like, notoriety. And, like, it's not, like, me trying to get, like, over or anything like that. It's just me just trying to show my love for the business, and that, like, if I ever worked for this company, I'd give nothing but 110%, no matter what role I would play in the business.
How many times at an event do you have people come up to you and have you do the pose?
It gets pretty crazy, actually. I think it's just hilarious that, like, you know, I'm just some guy. Like, I'm just like everyone else. I'm just like you. Like, we all love this, and that's just who I am. But if it's what warms my heart the best, if I can make someone happy by them just meeting me, that's just like that there's nothing better than that. Just to make someone happy, make their day. It's just like, wow, just because you met me, it's just like I'm like you, man. I'm just like, I love this business just like you guys, you know. It's just.
Do you feel you get special treatment for being a Brock Lesnar guy?
Not really. I feel like I have a lot of luck, but I don't know if I really believe in luck now. It's just like I just right place, right time, and it really is. And so I think, you know, whatever. But I don't think I've ever really gotten any special treatment that I can really see. But that's.
How do you feel social media has affected wrestling fans today?
You know, social media, it's a gift and a curse. It's, for one thing, it's a great way to get yourself out there. You know, Twitter, it's just like the most amazing thing. It's like everyone's got your cell phone, basically. Like, everyone's like tweeting, texting you, whatever. At the same time, it's really kind of, you know, like what John said earlier, it's really kind of like everyone knows everything now. So, like, once something happened, if they're gonna do a surprise, for example, like, for example, Sting, like when the news of him being there broke the Friday before the Sunday he was supposed to be there, as awesome as it still was when he came out, we already kind of knew, like, that would have been 10 times better if, like, no one had any clue he was gonna walk out there. We would have, like, the reaction would have been even that much crazier. So, in a sense, social media is kind of really, I wouldn't say ruined wrestling, but kind of like really kind of like spoiled, like, you know, like spoiled like storylines and stuff like that. So, like, when you have like something big that's about to happen and everyone knows about it, and then they're gonna like start complaining about it, and then it almost forces WWE to kind of like change it up a little bit so they'll stop, you know, complaining. That's kind of like the bad part of social media. But I try to make the best of things. I always, you know, I'm always on Twitter, you know, keep in contact, put myself out there. So Instagram too, Facebook. So it's an amazing thing, but it can also be like, yeah, we use it the right way.
Do you think wrestling organizations out there actually listen to the fans and give the fans what they want?
I think they do more than people realize. You know, everyone wants to complain, like, you know, oh, Vince is out of touch, you know, everything. But it's really just like I said, like, you know how the business has changed, like, since the Attitude Era to now. It's just like really rolling with the times. It's being like more image conscious. You can't just, like, you know, have like these hardcore matches now and put people through flaming tables and, like, you know, people bleeding. That like, it can't like really happen anymore. As much as I enjoyed it, like, I mean, I wasn't like a hardcore fan of it, but, like, you know, I enjoyed watching it as far as like the shock value of it. But, like, as far as like, I really do believe they do listen to the fans. Like, for example, WrestleMania last night, everyone's complaining about, like, oh, why is Roman, you know, in the main event with Brock Lesnar? I'm always like the type of person that's just like, why don't you let it unfold first? Like, when you saw that on paper, it's like, well, maybe it didn't look that good on paper, but what was the end result of that? Seth Rollins cashed in, he made a triple threat match, and it was considered one of the greatest moments in WrestleMania history. So, like I said, let it unfold first, and then make your opinion on it once the whole storyline unfolds.
Hold on, I'm gonna ask somebody else. What is your definition of a mark?
Definition of mark, you know, it's funny, Rick said the same thing about, like, what really is a mark? You know, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, And he's just like, you know, you're no Mark. Like, you know what's going on. Like, you understand what's going on. So it's almost like, it's like, it can mean something good. It can mean something bad. It has a whole lot of different meanings. Like, then there's like the evolution of it. Like, then there's a smark and there's a smart mark, whatever you want to call it. I call myself just basically a passion. Like, I'm just very passionate about this business. Like, I'm not just like, you know, like, oh, a mark. We're like, oh my God, you know, like, because like I'm like marking out. Like, I guess you could say I do that, you know, but like, it's like, you're excited. Like, when something awesome happens, like when Seth Rollins cashed in last night at WrestleMania, I marked out. Like, I got excited. So did everyone else. Sure, everyone else backstage marked out too. So in a sense, we all are marks. But as far as like what a definition of a mark is, I feel like there's a lot of, you know, different definitions. Like, example, like mark is like, you know, you love wrestling, but do you really know the insides of the business or whatever, which then brings you to smart mark. I guess I would consider myself a smart mark, if anything else. But like I said before, someone would say like, oh yeah, you're not a mark, you know what, like what's going on and everything. To me personally, I just consider myself a very knowledgeable about this business and just love it so much. So.
And I am going to ask this question too. I'm going to ask before. Has being a professional wrestling fan affected your like personal life, family, and friends?
I'd say yes, not in a bad way, but it's because I'm always, you know, going to shows. Like, I'm always like really focused on it. You know, I got my friends back home who I love, you know, dearly. I don't get to see them that much anymore, so like when like, you know, I get free time, hey, I'm gonna head out to a wrestling show and then, you know, see my other buddies like from out of town and everything. So it's just really, you know, because like, you know, everyone's got their problems like back home. Like, you know, it's just like escape from reality. It's like escape from your problems, so you don't have to like, you know, worry about like everything, because everyone's got to pay the bills, everyone's got to work hard. You know, I'm just a regular guy, got a 9-to-5 job. You know, it's the way it is.
What do you do for a living?
I work at a Whole Foods market, believe it or not. Yeah, so they've done a lot for me, you know, natural organic foods, you know, I've gotten into better shape because of it, so, you know, they've done a lot for me too, you know, so it's...
Is there anything else you want to say about being a wrestling fan?
You know, just, like John said, like, you know, if you're not a fan of wrestling, you know, just give it a chance. Like, if you ever want to, like, go to a show with me or, you know, watch wrestling with me, I can get you hooked for life on wrestling. It's the greatest entertainment on earth to me, because it brings everything to the table. Like, it's variety. Like, you know, you have like basketball, baseball. It's just like one focus. Like, WWE focuses on everything, and it brings everything to the table.
I'm asking this for myself. How many of those shirts do you have?
Well, I am actually wearing the original shirt that I was wearing when I just decided to throw it on that one night. I actually have purchased 2 more of these shirts. I found them online, so now I have 3 that I rotate through, because when you have a WrestleMania weekend, I can't literally wear the same shirt all weekend. I'm going to go home, you know? So I have 3 of them now. So